Hi there, I'm Peter Millard, and this is 10 Minute Workshop, where 10 minutes in the workshop is never enough. In the workshop this week, we're going to have a quick look at one of the big pieces of furniture I've made for this big job that I'm doing, but specifically in a bit more detail about the finger pull recesses I've cut in the drawer fascias and doors. That's coming up next. So one of the things I've had to build for this big job is this guy. It's a banquette. A big box with drawers in it, basically. I haven't done any of the build on this because it is literally just a big box with drawers in it. It's nothing particularly clever or special. Put these out. It's a standard sort of plywood drawer box construction on soft close runners. It's got a face frame to it, which is a little different for me. And the fascias, because they're inset, really need to fit well. But other than that, the only real difference with it is that a feature of all the doors, all the drawer fascias, and this particular job is that they have this sort of finger pull on all the doors and the drawer fronts. So I haven't done any of the build on this because it's just a perfectly standard box with drawers in it. But I thought I'd take you through the process of actually getting these finger pulls, because it's a little bit more involved than it might immediately appear. So the finger pull is made with a finger pull cutter, astonishingly, or sometimes an Ovolo cutter. It's a bearing guided cutter. This particular one is from Wielden Tools. There's a link in the description below, and it's only available in an 8mm shank, which is slightly irritating. So I've had to buy an 8mm collet for that router. Now, I ran a test on this when I first got it, and it cut really nicely, really well, really straightforward and easy to do. And these finger pulls are actually going to have squared edges, so I've got a little bit of careful chisel work to do to square those edges off. The trouble was, when it came to doing the actual full size cut, and I did another test, obviously, it was terrible. It's so much wider than the test I did originally. There isn't enough support, and I was getting terrible problems keeping it steady and getting awful sort of inconsistency in the cut. And basically what I had to do is use a regular router with a big straight bit to hog away as much of the waste as possible, and then use the finger pull bit just to do the finished cut. And that seemed to work out okay. So we'll do one of those now and I'll show you what I mean. There's an awful lot of surface area on this, and it really does sort of pull the router around a bit. So you've got to be very careful with them. It's not really a handheld bit, but I literally could not figure any other way of making this cut. And I've got sort of 9 to do, so I just needed to get on with it, really. So let's make one of the finger pull cuts in the drawers now. With the drawer fascia clamped to the bench, I can mark the centre and align the template, clamping it tightly to the fascia so there's absolutely no chance of it moving. Now, one of the headaches with these particular routers is that they do produce staggering amounts of dust with these cutters. So full face masks on for this one, ear defenders. You're not going to see much of me in this, I'm afraid. Taking it slow and steady, I'm hogging out the bulk of the waste with a large straight bit. This bit isn't bearing guided, so I'm just freehanding and concentrating very hard so as not to clip the template. Okay, so that's most of the waste removed. Now we can go in with the finger pull cutter and do the finishing cut. Even though the Ovolo scribe cutter is bearing guided, I'm still working hard to keep the base of the router flat against the drawer fascia to keep a consistent depth of cut. And with one down, there's just another 8 to go. I'll have got the hang of it by the time I'm finished, I'm sure. Whew. So there we are. That's how we do finger pulls. Simple as that. A little bit more cleaning up to do in the cut area there. But you still get the occasional very slight sort of change in the tip of the cutter. Gives you a slight sort of ridge in there, but you can sand that out easily enough. And obviously I need to spend a bit of quality time with some chisels just to square up these corners, but that is basically how I've been doing these drawer pulls and finger pulls in the doors. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward, but it does require you to apply yourself, and you do need to be very, very careful swinging quite a big bit, a big cutter like that in a handheld router. If there was a way I could figure out to do it on a table, I would much rather do that, but it's a question of getting the long cut is fine, but getting the in cut nice and straight would be the challenge. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed that quick little video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it out amongst your friends, and do consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Hey, just check back on a Friday when there's always something new up at noon. I'll see you then.